Hey guys, welcome to a little bit of woo woo. I'm so happy to see you guys. It's Happy Friday for those of you watching it the day I post it, or Happy Weekend if that's what it is for you. So it's been an interesting week. Of course, you guys know that 47's been out of town, so some of the insanity has been just a little bit less crazy. Um, a couple of things I wanted to talk about. I always like to in the second, show of the week to talk about things that people have been asking me about at readings because they had a lot of the same questions over and over again. First thing I wanted to talk about is shenanigans. I love that word, guys. Okay, so I got hosed by a dentist in a way that I didn't even know was a thing, and I'm sharing this for a really good reason. Because there's going to be a lot of this kind of stuff now. As the economy gets more and more challenging and business owners get more desperate, you're going to be seeing a lot of stupid shiz showing up. In this case, I'm going to tell you what they did. So I new in town, I booked two cleanings, my husband and I. According to our insurance, they're supposed to be free. Well, right, you guys know insurance is not a great thing, and usually it's just a coupon. It's not really actually insurance, and that was the case here. I got a bill afterward for like $350. So I called up and I was like, "How much is it if I didn't have insurance? Like, this my insurance is supposed to give this for free. Like, I've never had to pay. I've never had to pay more than maybe $50 for each one of these. What's the deal? Oh no, you didn't just get cleaning. You got extra. You got the two special cleanings, the more expensive cleanings. I think it's called scaling. I'm not a dentist. I may have said that wrong. Forgive me. And then we got X-rays. You had to have X-rays, and I said, well, I know we were getting it. I know. No, I saw you guys do the X-rays, but our last dentist sent you the X-rays, and what you didn't tell me they weren't covered by insurance. Oh no, you're supposed to know that. You have really bad insurance. Anyway, it went on and arguing back and forth. Um, Bottom line, I paid the bill, but canceled our future appointments and just decided to use that as a learning experience and then look for a dentist. And of course, we will ask them for the X-rays that they didn't tell us weren't covered, because I shudder to think of what would happen if I needed like a root canal or something. What could they have added to the bill? There was a lot of stuff that I didn't even know. Like they charged us for changing the paper on the headrest. I mean, I just assumed they just do that, but whatever. In the comments, you guys, put down something. If you've something interesting has happened recently, some kind of recent shenanigan, put that in the comments just so that we can all know. Because there is also a gas station in Oregon recently that got in the news for charging $8 a gallon for gas when the going rate, I think right now is around four-ish, right? They were charging $8 a gallon. But the thing is, you guys don't know this, but in the state of Oregon, up until pretty recently, most people didn't pump their own gas. You actually just gave your credit card to a stranger and they pumped it for you. So that person would be standing in front of the thing that showed you how much the price is. And so a lot of people just don't look at the price on the pump. And that's how they got away with it. So I'm telling you this because you're going to be seeing more and more of this. Check your receipts, you guys. Make sure you weren't charged, $10 a pound for grapes or something. I don't know. Maybe that is the going rate. Actually, I don't. I'm pretty sure it's not. Just watch that kind of stuff because we're going to be seeing more of that. But I thought that was an interesting learning lesson. And anyway, also interestingly enough, I went to my hairdresser the next day, and she's like, "Yeah, everybody in town knows not to go there. You're new in town. That's how you ended up with this. Everybody knows that they rob their customers. So, entertainment purposes only. Obviously, that's not how they see what they did. I'm just saying. Okay, so people were asking about the Alcatraz. I know I mentioned this. I feel like when I started this business and I was doing readings for clients a million years ago, I never thought I'm going to be out reading on whether Donald Trump is going to be president, first of all, and whether he's going to be turning Alcatraz into a maximum security prison. I'm going to say no on that one. I really don't see that happening. I also don't think he owns it. I think the state of California owns it, but I'm not sure on that. Somebody probably does know. The other thing, though, this week was his announcement about messing with the prices of prescription drugs. Gosh, I wish he could do that. I really do. We do get hosed. I don't think there's anybody that doesn't know about, the fact that certain drugs are really cheap overseas that are really expensive here. My aunt's a doctor from England, and she was telling us about the price of stuff, and I've heard these stories for years. Let's just put it that way. I wish I could say he'll be able to do it. I think there will be some, and it might be, a lot of the stuff that Biden had already put into place. But I don't think he'll be allowed to mess with the free market. I just don't think a president can set the price of something like oil, like just set the price of things and not have there be unintended consequences. I've I've been to school, I've learned enough macroeconomics to know that when the government gets involved, it usually goes really badly. But I might be wrong on that. I would be happy to be wrong. I would love to see the price of products be more fair. I also do know from my years of working in the vitamin industry that it is very easy to add a little something to a formula to make it different than the competitor's formula, the one you were copying, right? So that you don't get in trouble. And so it is something unique. And he can do that, make us have a unique version of, they can do that. They could just add, I'm just making this up, like berberine to insulin, and suddenly it's an insulin berberine product, and it's something that's not sold anywhere but here, and they can charge whatever they want. That's just a random example. I'm not a doctor. Don't listen to me for medical advice, but they can do stuff like that. So I just see too many ways that's going to go not the way we would like. I would love to see some regulation on that, but it is what it is. Oh, I was getting a hit. You guys don't need me to tell you this. Trump wants the Nobel Peace Prize. He really does. He's going to be kind of doing things to make it look like he's been creating peace. He really wants there to create. He really wants, because Obama got one. He's not going to get it. But I'm just seeing that right, left, and center, that's one of the things that he wants, and he's going to be doing things to sort of campaign for it in his own little way. But I don't see it happen. I just don't see it happening. I'm just saying that. Okay, India and Pakistan. Oh my goodness. If we could get a more explosive topic, I don't know what it is. I don't see the N word happening. I know you guys are worried about that. The N word, the big explodey thing. I don't see it happening. I do think they're going to resolve the most recent conflict soon. And I think we're going to be seeing it'll be down to just their normal level of conflict. This place has been in conflict for hundreds of years. I don't think that's going away. I wish I could say it would, but I don't see it happening in certainly not in my lifetime. Maybe they'll resolve some differences, but I think this may just be an area that has a lot of tension. And same thing with the Middle East in general, which is really sad, really, really sad that anybody has to go through that and live that. But that is unfortunate part of what's going on in that world. Uh, Investments. I'm going to talk briefly about the investments because I just noticed something last night that was kind of shocking. I don't. I want to talk about that, something that maybe like 2% of you guys even know what I'm talking about, but I'm just going to say it. So if you're an investor, check out how many shorts are on the TLT ETF right now, you guys. About 25% of the TLT positions are short positions, which normally around 5 or 6. I'm not going to tell you what to do with that, but if you don't know what I'm talking about, I would think twice about making that position yourself personally. If it were me, if I don't know all there is to know about this, but I would look at that one before you do it. Maybe those people are all going to get rich, and I'm not, because I don't hold the short position in TLT, but it does seem like a lot of people are at one end of that boat, and I would just be a little nervous about it. The question that's coming up though with clients is that people are worried about grandma's pension, or grandma's 401k, or her investment portfolio. If you're one of those people, it's time to book an appointment with your psychotherapist. I love that. And and your portfolio manager, and talk to them maybe about how comfortable you are with the level of risk that you've got. There's nothing wrong with de-risking. Feel it out. But I always have that if you sleep better at night rule in my mind. If you'd sleep better at night, if you had more TLT, as a random example, if you sleep better at night, if you had more gold positions or less gold positions, then that's what you should do. But I would just encourage you to reevaluate your positions right now, because I said this, I think I said this last week. I have a lot of clients who are stock traders, and they're telling me they're nervous about holding their positions over the weekend, the ones that don't have the ability to trade in after hours trading overseas, because of stuff that the administration does over the weekend. I mean, it's just sometimes like things are way up or way down when they can't make a change. If that's you, it's okay to just sit on the sidelines a little bit, or sit in cash for a little bit. I don't know, feel it out. But it would be a good idea for everybody who has a position, who has a portfolio, to look at it right now and evaluate where they're at. Excuse me. I just read an article I thought was kind of interesting. Costco used to have these gold bars that they were selling. air, air quotes gold bars. By the way, they're the size of a postage stamp. That's like their quote gold bars. But now they have a rule. They were selling so many of them that you can only buy two a day and only one per transaction. What used to be, I think you could buy two and then you could buy up to eight a day. I thought that was interesting, but I didn't realize like those are selling like crazy at Costco. Like people go to Costco to buy gold. It's telling to me about how people are feeling and how nervous they are about their investments, about investments in general. Feel this one out. Just know that this is kind of a temporary situation. I do see things calming down later, but for right now, it could be pretty chaotic until the end of the summer. Feels like to the end of the summer. Feels like it could be really chaotic in June. June, July-ish, I would feel like in the markets, I would just be watching it. I would just be watching. I mean, I would say if you have a position, just be watching it in general, babysitting that sucker. But especially in the next couple of months, because it feels like there's going to be stuff. Because that tariff thing's not gone away. It's just paused. And I don't feel like it's really resolved. I really don't. Especially when they start looking at trying to do deals with Japan. I don't know if you guys know this. Some of you guys know, some of you guys have Toyotas know. Toyota does not make a lot of money on the units sold in the US. They have a weird deal with their trading partner, with their distributor in the US. They made a million years ago when they were just trying to get here, and they got a deal that really wasn't that great. So they actually make a lot more money on selling a Toyota Corolla in England than they do selling it here. And I feel like, unfortunately, US is a lot bigger, so they do sell more of them. They make money on the volume. It'll be interesting to see when they start trying to really negotiate the price of the car tariff down. I feel like Toyota in particular may decide to just slow down the amount of Toyotas that come into the US. I'm not saying go buy a Corolla today if you want one, but if you really want a Corolla today and you're thinking it's, buying it soon, if it's next 6 months, I don't know. I would really look at that because I do feel like they may be slowing down the amount of cars if they don't get this tariff thing resolved. Toyota in particular, Nissan, I think some of the Nissans are actually made here, and Mazda, there's a chunk of Mazdas that are made here. I do feel like Volkswagen is in trouble and Stellantis is in big trouble, but things are going to get resolved. These car companies, I'm not 100% sure how many are going to go away, but I do think we're going to be just seeing a rejiggering of positions in car companies. So I drive a 15-year-old car and I plan on driving it till it's a 20-year-old car if it'll stay alive. First of all, I do actually really love that car too. I would hold on to what you've got for as long as you can, if you can. But if you're in the market for a car, feel it out as to what's a good time, because I do think, looking at things, it could be a good time to buy for some people, but do your research, right? I've seen a lot of people make some nasty financial mistakes, especially considering that we've got some student loans. People are starting to having to pay back their student loans. You guys, people ask me about this one all the time. Is that going to get paused again? I don't think it's going to get paused again. I think you really, really are going to have to pay it this time. And what's really sad is that a lot of those people who didn't have to pay their student loans, I know some of you are like, I have no sympathy for that person. But those people like bought houses, they bought cars, they bought Dodge Chargers, they bought things using the money thinking they may never have to pay that student loan back. But now it's getting like taken out of their checking account. That's going to get challenged, by the way. I do feel like that where they're actually taking it out of the checking account, when they're actually taking it out of there's a word for that. I can't think what it is. When they're garnishing your wages, I think that's going to get challenged in court. And I do see that getting paused eventually, but I think you may still have to see some pain because they are actually going to be taking some of it out of people's Social Security benefits. So if you have a big student loan, you haven't been paying it, geez, you really are going to have to pay it right now. So just letting you know. Okay. The question I got a lot this week, and I want to say like 5 reading clients wanted to know answer to the question, should I get divorced? And truth is, it's not for me to answer. It's for you to answer, but I will tell you the answer that I give to people on this one. If you're in that place and you're wondering if you should get divorced, you're not there yet. When the time is right, when a relationship has ended and it's done and you're finished, you really know. And there's no questioning it. It's just ended. It's like you came to the end of the road. It's done. It may still suck. It may still be really hard to go through the motions, but it is really clear. If you're asking people like me, you're not in that position yet. You do have to just ask yourself more, what it is do I want out of life? What do I want? What do I need to be happy? what brings me joy? What do I want to do? Um, Marriage counseling is always a great thing. I always encourage that. But I will just say the answer to the question is if you're still on the fence, you're not you're not ready yet, because when the time comes, you really do know. And think about, just take a second and think about a time when you did know, when you were, a boyfriend or girlfriend, and wasn't working out, and it finished, you knew. It was and it was fairly easy to pull the trigger and let it go. If you're in a marriage right now and you're not there, you're not there. So just allow yourself the time to let things play out. And just know that for some of you that are sure that it's over and you haven't done it, you may be in a position where there's somebody else for you. And your current partner is parked in that person's parking space and sitting in that person's chair at the table. You have to decide for yourself what you want out of your life, but know that you deserve to be happy, you deserve to be loved. And if you're not the right person, if you're not with the right person, then they're not with the right person either. So feel that one out. But I would just say, don't get caught up in asking people if you should or if you shouldn't. Allow yourself to just know, okay? Uh okay, ooh, here. I want to talk about the 14th Amendment. The Supreme Court is actually hearing arguments on the 14th Amendment issue. That was the birthright citizenship. They're taking kind of an unusual stance on how they're approaching this with the Supreme Court. I do see this eventually getting redone. And I know that if you're working in a hospital right now, you don't want to have to be the one deciding if a baby is eligible for citizenship or not before you issue them a social security card, because you guys know most hospitals now are issuing the social security numbers. But I do see that eventually shifting and changing. I don't know that what he's doing now is going to do it. I feels like it'll happen perhaps with the next administration or the one after that. But that one I do see changing. Um, would love to say they could do it the right way. They could go through Congress, but everybody watching this knows that Congress and the Senate just have a hard time getting anything done. Um, in this executive order approach, though highly unconstitutional, it might actually move that ball and start that process of changing that faster. Um, there's some of the things, some of these executive orders that he's done, I would say the vast majority of them aren't going to stick. I see just court case after court case after court case, loses. He wins one, loses, wins one. There's going to be a lot of that kind of thing going on for the next few months. Be a lot of time. Boy, I hope he's hired a lot of lawyers from Harvard. There's going to be a lot of court cases, but they do know that they are going to win some. The other thing that came up a lot this week, people are asking about people have been laid off through the Doge thing. I'm gonna tell you, be honest with you, I see a lot of those jobs that were Doged. That's a noun now, I don't know, adjective, whatever. I see a lot of those jobs coming back. I think a lot of those people will actually be court-ordered rehired. I feel like this may end up costing the administration more than it was worth, because it feels like they're gonna have to pay back pay, feels like they're gonna have to pay benefits. They may even have to pay some kind of, I don't know, liability. I know some of you don't want to hear that because, smaller government does feel like it, considering we have this huge, massive budget deficit. But I do feel like a lot of that is going to get challenged in court, and a lot of it will have to get reinstated. I can't say when, because these things are working their way through the courts, but I do feel like that's going to happen for a lot of them. Not everybody, not everything, not every situation. If you're in one of those positions, I would still look for a job. I really would. Um, but oh my gosh, speaking of jobs, it is a little rough out there trying to find one, you guys. I see a lot of people struggling with it. It's tough. It's really tough. And I would love to say, by Thursday, everything's gonna be fine. I don't see it. I think it'll be rough for a big chunk of for a bit. I think things will start to get better in 2026. But Jill, it's only May. I can't be unemployed for 6 months. Yeah, I don't think you should. Look for other things. Look for stuff. Look for side hustles. You guys all have an idea in your head. Look for something. And if you've got a job right now, do whatever it takes. Do whatever it takes to keep it. The last thing I wanted to leave on, oh, Harvard. It's so funny. He's not done with this Harvard thing. Like, it may have left the news cycle for a minute, but he is still going to go after Harvard, and he's still trying to go after Canada. I don't really see Greenland coming back around super quick, but it might. I don't know. It's going to be an interesting few weeks if you can pop some popcorn. If you're not in the middle of this tsunami of frustration that's happening, you can watch it and think of yourself as a connoisseur of human folly. It's a little bit easier, but if you're one of the person who went to Walmart and the price of bananas and eggs was higher and it's you can't afford it, that's really sad and I'm sorry for you. Spare a thought if you're not one of those people for the food banks that lost a lot of their money recently. Um, and maybe take a bag of extra stuff over there if you think about it. Last thing I want to leave you with is something your guides are always telling me because I connect with a lot of spirit guides. I see them. They love you so much. You're so important. And you can ask them for help anytime. Ask them for signs. Ask them to show you stuff. People are finding feathers. I have a client who finds dimes everywhere she goes. I love that. Ask for signs. Ask for the answer to the question. Sometimes you can even just, this one's helpful for me, is I'll write a question sometimes on a piece of paper next to my bed and I'll say, hey guys, if you think about it, can you give me a sign in a dream? Almost always get an answer or I'll wake up with the answer. Just know that that is always available to you. Prayer is a good thing. It can create amazing miracles and it can often just show you what your next steps should be. And also know that I love you. I think you guys are great. Thank you so much for coming and hit the like button if you don't mind. If you subscribe if you like, and I will see you next time. And my name is Jill Thomas. I'm available for private readings. Link in the description. I love you guys. See you later. Bye. Bye. Bye.